Very good evening, everyone. I am Mouzzam Ansari. I lead SAP Basis Practice in SAVIC Technologies. So, like the platform, whatever you may select, okay, the platform, whatever you may select, but the overall migration approach or the method may remain same. May you go to Azure, may you go to AWS or any other platform, or whether you go to any other data centers also, but the overall migration method, the migration plan, whatever will be there, overall will remain same. There could be a very slight difference maybe in terms of some terminologies or the services available. So I'll be explaining whatever Mr. Venugopal was discussing here. Okay, so this will be a high level of steps what you will be actually executing. The very first is we will be performing a platform existing system assessment. The next will be architecturing based on the current systems into the cloud. The third will be a POC. Fourth will be performing the actual production systems migration, and third will be operations and the optimizations. I'll explaining each one of them. So in performing the landscape assessment, we will assess your systems completely right from the storage up to your network, like how the things are currently configured, how the data is flowing, and network architectures, whether there is a disaster recovery, yes, no, as someone was mentioning the same, whether the data recovery, disaster recovery is essential and how far it is useful. Application readiness, whether the application whatever you are having is ready to move to cloud, because many a time we have old operating systems, old databases which are not available in cloud, because cloud has its own policies to follow. They have to follow certain things, so it may not be readily available for you to move to cloud. So we have to ensure that the applications whatever we are having are compatible with the cloud platforms, operating systems versions available in the cloud. Compliance, regulatories, licensing also, all these things we will check in your existing systems. If these things fulfill the requirement, then we can plan. And before this, there is a prerequisites which we have to finalize before starting this activity. That is, what systems you want to migrate, what systems you don't want to continue to migrate into a cloud, or whether you are looking for any alternate solutions. For example, on-premise you may have BW, BobJ and all. Cloud you may look for SSC or any other Microsoft Power BI you may look for. So those things we have to finalize, and then we can plan the next steps. Okay, so now for the architecturing of the cloud. So what happens many a time when we assess the on-premise systems, many a time I have found that there is an oversizing been done, and that's a very normal thing I should say, because on an on-premise solutions, whenever we go for, we tend to buy a more hardware. The reason is, if we go for a 64 GB or 120 GB extra later on down the line 5 years, you may not get, or you may get it at a very higher cost. So the best idea is to get a higher side of a hardware initially itself. That's what everyone do, but not necessary every time that is 100% used even down the line 5 years. So I see that the hardware given to the resource, to the systems, are onto the very much higher side. Same if we continue in cloud, that may not be useful. For example, I had seen systems where there were 588 GB something of RAM allocated, it was using hardly 220 GB. There is a almost 2x the difference. The requirement was even less than 50% of the actual. So we do those analysis, how much is used, how much is allocated from all aspects, right? From CPU, whether how much your CPU is going high, how much your RAM is getting used, those things, storage, all those things we assess, and based on that, we recommend the target platforms, the target sizing on the cloud platforms. Now it depends like how the policies you want to follow. If you give liberty to the consultants or the executive who is designing these things, then he will suggest to go from the lowest sizing possible, because being a cloud you can take that leverage and you can scale it up anytime you want. But if you go on to the higher side, scaling down may be little bit haywire, the problem may arise, this may happen. But if you go from small size, you can scale up anytime. Although scaling down is also no issues, but generally people don't tend to do so. Network architecture, how many locations your system will be, accessed, and how much concurrent users will be there, whether you need to have a tunnel, you need to have a remote VPNs for public IP like Fiori and those things, how will you want to access, whether it will be accessed after connecting from a VPN that will be on a mobile phone, or how those things needs to be configured, that you have to provide. We all will design those things in this particular step. The next is POC. Once the thing is being finalized, we will do a POC of the entire systems. So the very first thing we start is with the sandbox systems. So if it is a backup restore sort of a thing, then no additional sandbox in an on-premise platform is required. But if in case it is a import export, I'll explain these things in the coming slide, that is the case, then a source sandbox is also required. So all those things we do in the POC part. Production, development, quality, all things will be done. You have to check the accessibility of the system, whether all plants, locations, however you want to, the system is accessible or not. Whatever the integrations are there, as someone said, like for the zero trust and all those things, we enable the zero trust also. No access to anywhere unless exclusive access has been granted. So those things will also be implemented here, and you can check everything. Once the POC is successful, you are assured that things are working fine. It should not happen in terms of security. Our users also not able to access. So we have to ensure that there is a balance between security and users not being able to access the systems. So once this is done, we can move ahead to the production migrations. Here we will actually do a cutover of the systems from development, quality, production, all systems into the cloud systems. Once we have done the migration, we have a chance, we can do an optimizations also, as I said before. Cloud, mostly people go for SSDs, but certain non-critical systems, we can even go for HDD also, if that supports the system. I mean, definitely for HANA and those things, production systems, we cannot go for HDD, the hard disk, but for development, Fiori and small applications, we can go for HDD also. You have the liberty, wherever you want, whenever you want, you can upgrade it to SSD, Ultra SSD, Premium SSDs, whatever suits you. So you can upgrade the quality of the disk, you can downgrade the quality of the disk. So those options are available, provided the consultant has that liberty to do it, right? So so now this is regarding the approach of the migrations. Okay, so if you are looking to migrate a system where there is no change in a hardware architecture, I mean to say your source system is also on Intel, your target platform is also on Intel. No change in an operating system NDNs. For example, AIX work on a big NDN, HP UX work on a big NDN, Sun Solaris work on a big NDN, whereas Windows, Linux, Red Hat, SUSE, those work on a small NDN, it's ENDIAN, NDN bits. So if that is not changing, plus if your database is not changing, in that case, plus your SAP application version will not change, in that case, we can do a lift and shift using a VM replica. We can have a VM replication software installed in Azure. It is ASR, you can install ASR client on your source system, and this will go as is. There will not be a change in a single bit also. It will go 100% as is. If this is your requirement, you have this option also available. But plus, for this particular case, there is one more option available. Okay, so now in second example, if there is no change in hardware architecture, as I said, Intel to Intel, if it is, because cloud is mostly nowadays Intel, no IBM's hardware or a power hardwares are available, mostly in Azure. If you go for IBM cloud, that's a different case, but in Azure, it's not available. Second, if there is no change in an operating system, NDNS, for example, Linux to Linux you are migrating, or Windows to Windows you are migrating, although in this case, you can do a SP version upgrade in a target platform. May it be an SP version upgrade if possible, or if the system is compatible, you can even go for a version upgrade of an operating system also. Second is no change in database. Here when I say no change in database is Oracle to Sybase no, Oracle to HANA no. If it is just a Oracle version, SP version upgrade, yes, in that case the option will come up. Plus no change in SAP application versions. Yes, again, you can upgrade SAP kernels, host agent, those things you can do. SP version or version, that if system supports. In that case, you can go for a backup restore. Because in a backup restore mechanism, you have the chance to do a fresh installation of an operating system in the target platform, provided your application is supporting the OS version you are going to or whatever is available in the cloud. If your application supports, you can go for a backup restore mechanism. In this particular mechanism, your operating system could be upgraded, your database versions could be upgraded, may it be SP version or may it be actual versions, but these things are possible. But again, there are certain limitations to it. It's not like that you are having Oracle 12 and you want to jump to Oracle 19 directly. It may suit, may not suit. Same goes for Sybase, same goes for HANA also. So if your requirement is this, then this option is available. If you want, no, my already operating system, database, everything is up to date, then you have first option also available. But if no, then second option is available for you. But if all these things, for example, now your hardware is changing. Let's suppose you are right now on an IBM platform or an HP UX platform. You want to move to Azure. In that case, none of the above two method will work for you. May certain exceptions apply for the second case because there are certain extra steps a person can perform, and that may work, but it's very limited options. But if your hardware architecture is changing, IBM to Intel or HP UX to Intel, in that case, this will be the method suitable to you. Plus, if your operating system NDNS is changing, for example, you are moving from AIX to SUSE or from HP UX to SUSE, in that case, this is the option. Plus, if you want to change your database, for example, right now you may be on HANA or you may be on Sybase or you may be on Oracle, you want to switch to HANA or you want to move to any other database, not only HANA, from Sybase to HANA or from Oracle to Sybase if you want to move. In that case, you can have OSDB migration options available. This is little bit time consuming, but this is the only option available, right? This will cater to all the requirements. This method is applicable to above two also, but those two could not be used here. But this is time consuming, this will have more downtime in this case. So ideally this is not opted. But in case if there is no options, other options available, then this is the only last resort we have. Fine. That's it from the technical side. Any queries, please, I'll be happy to answer. Fine. Thank you so much.